Yesterday was completely dead calm. We traveled about 20 miles in the entire day, which is pitiful. And then we hove to for the night because there wasn't enough wind to try and keep sailing through the night like we were hoping. Now, this morning, wind came. So now we're doing between 3 to 4 knots in the right direction. We're out about 20 miles off the coast, and land should be that way. And as you can see, there is no sign of land anywhere. There's a couple ships on the horizon, but for the most part, we are all alone out here. So it's just us and the sea in every direction.
Woke up this morning, and there was no land anywhere in sight. Just 360 degrees of water. And it's a very interesting feeling. I thought that I was going to feel, it was going to feel eerie and upsetting and open, but it actually feels safer, weirdly, to not be able to see the land. Maybe because there's so much turmoil happening in the world right now on land, and we're just officially so far removed from that we can't see it. We can't hear about it, we can't see it. We're just in our own little floating island of happiness right now, and it's liberating.
I finished this book, and I decided I'd read it as well. That way we'd have something to talk about with what goes on in this really cool book. And honestly, this book is awesome. I don't usually like stories or anything like that. This one's really good.
So we're really moving right now. We're going about 5.8 knots, and we're just relaxing. Both of us are reading. I'm reading The Mountain Between Us right now, which is a really good book so far, and they also just made it into a movie. But I always like to read the book before I see the movie, so that's that. And yeah, I'm gonna go peek my head out there because now we're cooking.
So if you've wondered how loud electric motors are, the loudest part is actually when you're sailing. So this is the noise. So this noise is the engine, it's right under this grate. So as the propeller spins as it goes through the water, it spins the motor like if it were a little generator, and that gives us a lot of charge. So if we open this up, you can see everything. So the propeller's down there, and it's just spinning away, and that's turning the motor, and that gives us power back. So at our current speed, we're only generating about 1 amp at 48 volts, which is equivalent to 4 amps at 12 volt. So this power then feeds back into our house bank and helps run the fridge and keep all our other electronics going. So at the moment we have all the solar panels being fed into the house bank to keep the fridge happy, and the motor's spinning, so that's regenerating power as well, so that'll charge up the motor bank. So it's a good day. It's nice when you go fast on sunny days.
We're moving! It's great!
So looking at the motor's control module, or the instrument display, you can see that we're charging at about 0.9 amps, which is 1 amp essentially, at 48 volts, and the motor bank is currently at 60% charge. Now the impressive thing about 60% charge at this point is we left the marina with 100% charge because we were plugged in. And in motor sailing, trying to get out of the bay and out into the ocean this whole way, we actually burned it down to about 47%. So, not so good. But then we got out into the ocean and we've had the solar panels charging the motor bank, and today we're sailing fast, so the propeller is charging the motor bank, so it's already back up to 60. So we figure by the time we get down to the Bahamas, between the sun and the prop, we'll be back to full charge and able to motor in whatever little inlet we have to get through in the Bahamas. We have 2 little birds that came along for the trip. So when we were leaving the bay, they landed on our boat, and I think they're gonna come with us down to the Bahamas. Whenever we come out, we seem to spook them and they fly off and then fly right back. So
they've got these little yellow bits underneath their wings at the back.
Huh. Yeah, so they're gonna be with us. They fly off, but they come right back because there's nowhere else to go. We have friends.
We do. We should give them like water.
A really nice thing is we've been out here for 2 days out in the ocean, and we have yet to need to steer. So our monitor wind vane has been steering us on this course, holding 170 degrees all the time. When we've had wind shifts, I've just come out and adjusted the trim of the wind vane, and then it brings us right back on the 170. So these suckers are awesome, and they use no electricity. Right by the winch. Yeah.
Jasper.
So every night, even if the winds are super light like they are, we still shorten sail, just in case stuff picks up during the night. So I like to put in 2 reefs in the main, and then we fly just the staysail. That way we're balanced just under a much smaller and shorter sail plan. I don't put in a tight reef because, let's face it, it's super calm out. As night befalls us on our second night out at sea, sailing out in the ocean, for real, we start seeing these clouds approaching. So these are cirrus clouds. They started creeping up earlier today. They are indicative of an approaching front when it looks like that. So when you see them looking like they are, the first day they come up, that usually gives you about a 1 to 2 day warning, which means sometime between tomorrow or the next day, it's going to start blowing really hard. Just in case this storm approaches faster than we expect, I reef down even further. So we have 3 reefs in the main and our staysail. That way we're ready for whatever comes. So out here, we're still able to get weather forecasts over the radio, so that's always helpful. But I still like to use the clouds because they tell you exactly what's coming at you where you are. So looking here, you can see these wispy clouds forming. So they tell of a high pressure coming up from the north. And if we look south, we see a giant low pressure system going the whole way. So that area is pretty much south of or to the left of the Gulf Stream, which is where we want to go. So pretty much our plan's gonna be to wait for this giant thing to pass, and then we'll go after it's gone.
We got another little friend. He looks to be really tired. He's right there next to the solar panel. We're not gonna bother him, but I hope he's okay. And another friend. Quite beautiful. Just resting.
Today was really calm. The winds were light, the swell was quite gentle, but we actually didn't really go anywhere, and that was intentional. So the clouds say something big is coming, and the weather forecast is calling for a gale. It's supposed to start Monday night to Tuesday morning, sometime around there, and go all the way until Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon. Today's Sunday, by the way. So we looked at the forecasts, and then we double checked with my dad on land who has access to the internet. And where we are is actually going to be less affected. Further south is going to be hit really hard, and further north is going to be hit kind of hard. So we're going to stay where we are. So we decided we'll just heave to today. We didn't really go anywhere. We just moved a little further offshore, about 4 or 5 miles, that's all. And here we are. So I've done a few things to prepare the boat. That way it'll be better suited to handle the gale when it comes. One of them is setting the storm sails and heaving to. So we're ready for when it comes. So let's go through the small tweaks that you can do to make life in a gale much more enjoyable. The first is to start with the helm. So when you heave to, what you have is a head sail that's backed, a trysail that's set regular, and then your helm turned all the way towards into the wind. So what that means is, in this case, we plan on heaving to with the wind coming in on our port side. So we have the helm turned all the way to port, and then if you look forward, you'll see that our head sail, which is our staysail, is backed, and then on the other side we have the trysail flying, and it's flying like a normal sail would on the correct side of the boat. So the first thing you do is you figure out which way you want to heave to. So we want the wind coming in from the port side, so therefore we have the helm turned all the way to port. Now every boat's different, so you have to try heaving to on your boat first to see how it responds best. And we've found that by putting a barber hauler on the side, so that way we can sheet the foot of the sail, or the clew of the sail, outboard as far as possible, it backs quite far, and then actually heaves to quite nicely. So what we did in this case is we set the barber hauler up on the port side where we expect the wind to be coming from, and the head sail is backed. So usually a sail flies from the attachment point and then comes down along the other side, and it's laying on the leeward side of the boat. Here we have it sheeted onto the windward side, and there's a reason for that which we'll go over in a moment. Then we have the trysail set up. This is pretty much a very strong and very tiny mainsail that doesn't involve the boom. So you can see that the mainsail is tied up on the boom. That way it presents little wind resistance. And the really important thing is the boom is taken out of the equation. So you don't have to worry as much about jibing if you have to, because it's a free-flying sail. So the important thing to do with the trysail, when you set it up, you want to make sure that the tack comes above the total stack of your head sail, of your mainsail. And the reason is, when you are on one tack or the other, if you decide to change direction, you want it to clear the sail. The other thing you want to do, if you look back here, is you'll have one sheet run down as it is on this side, But the lazy sheet, you want it run over the boom. That way, if you need to change tacks, you can easily, and it doesn't foul anything up on the rigging. The last thing you want to do is reduce wind surface area, or wind resistance. So our head sail, which we call Josh, is tied down in 3 points, and he's tied to the deck as well. So he's not going anywhere. And then the halyards are all tightened off. That way they won't bang around as much and make a whole bunch of noise while we're in this situation. And that's pretty much it. Those are the preparations that we had to make it safe to ride out the gale. So heaving to is really simple. Let's imagine that this is the boat, and this is the head sail, this is the mainsail, and this is your rudder. What you do is you set the head sail backed so it's pointing into the wind. The mainsail set normal, and then the rudder turned in the same direction as the head sail. So what happens is, as wind hits from this side, the head sail is back, so it offers a big front of air. So it gets hit and actually pushes the boat back, right? And the rudder's set this way so the boat will turn. As it turns back, all these things are going to rotate. Now, when the wind's coming from the same direction, it then hits the mainsail. And the head sail's quite depowered because now it's kind of in line with everything. So then the boat simply twists back, and everything comes with it. Now, you might be wondering what the rudder has to do with these two sails kind of fighting with each other. What the rudder does is, say for example, the boat starts to pick up speed. Well, the rudder's turned, so it's going to turn the boat up into the wind, where the head sail that's backed is going to stop it and bring you to a halt. The same happens if you start to drift back because the head sail is too powered up. You're going to come this way and it'll power up the main. So pretty much your boat lays in limbo with these three forces acting on it. And the whole time while the wind's coming from this way, it's kind of rocking side to side and drifting sideways through the water. As it drifts, the keel underwater creates a big slick of disturbed water coming to windward. So any big breaking waves that are coming at you over here, hit that slick and calm down.
In this clip of the video to come that has the storm, you can clearly see the whitecaps approaching the boat and then calming immediately as they touch the slick.
And that's it. That is heaving to. So in our situation, we have the helm turned to port, we have the head sail back to port, and we have our trysail sheeted on this side on the starboard side. And that is it. Now the really cool thing, say the wind comes at us from the starboard side. We're not set up for that. It's really simple. If the wind comes at us from the starboard side, it's going to hit here, which is going to push the boat back, and it'll actually spin the boat around until it lays just like that again, and you're hove to. Like, it's a wonderful system, and it's just fail-proof. So all you have to do is set the boat up and wait.
Next time on Sailing Wisdom, we bring you some intense footage of the gale that ended up being much larger than we anticipated and lasted for many, many days. Thanks so much for watching. And if you want to become a sailing buddy, you can click the link down below to our Patreon account.
Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. And when you click subscribe, make sure you click on the little bell in the annotation. That way you get notifications as soon as our next video is uploaded.
Thanks so much!